Children, for a topic on this morning, I want to leave in your hearing: the greater the trouble, the greater the victory. The greater the trouble, the greater the victory. And for a subtopic on this morning, I like to use: it's time to put your praise into overdrive. It's time to put your praise into overdrive. Come on, give the Lord a hand of praise on this morning. Because the greater the trouble, the greater the victory. It's time to put your praise into overdrive. There's a story of a young man that I remember who called out wolf. And when this boy called out wolf, every time he called out the name wolf, there were people that ran to him to see what was the matter. But after a while of the boy crying out wolf, he only looked up to realize that a wolf was really there. But instead of people running out to see what was the matter, he found that there was no one there because he had cried wolf so many times. But he looked up and he saw that there was a wolf looking him right in the face. In other words, the boy was looking at trouble. I'm reminded of a commercial with a lady where she is in one of the rooms in her house, and this woman falls or something, and she says, I'm falling and I can't get up. Y'all remember that? She says, I'm falling and I can't get up. So then somebody invented a little button or something that she can wear on a chain. In other words, so now that when she falls, she can push this button while she's in her trouble, and somebody can come for her to give her some help. I'm reminded of a story in the Bible, in Matthew 9:20, that speaks about the woman who had the issue of blood. The Bible says that she had this issue for 12 long years. Nobody could help her, not her mother, not her father, not her brothers, nor her sisters, but this woman was faced with some trouble. Look at somebody and say trouble. Understand on this morning that trouble comes from a Hebrew Arabic word, balahawi, which means a sudden destruction. The word trouble comes from another Hebrew Arabic word, zahar, which means to agitate. The word trouble in Webster is defined as to agitate mentally or spiritually. The word trouble is to worry or to disturb. The word trouble means to mistreat. The word trouble means to oppress. The word troubles mean to put physical disorder or to become mentally agitated. Understand on this morning that just like summer, spring, winter, and fall, understand that trouble is going to come. But the question is not trouble going to come, but the question is, how are you going to deal with trouble when trouble does come? There are many reactions that trouble can cause you to produce, and just to name a few, trouble can cause you to want to back up and to want to just be quiet. For in Psalms, the 77th division, the Bible speaks about troubled that I can hardly speak. Anybody ever just felt troubled where you didn't want to open your mouth? Another way that trouble can cause you to react. Trouble can cause you to become agitated mentally or spiritually, or in other words, it will make you to become uncomfortable in your mind and uncomfortable in your spirit. If you remember the story in Daniel, the 9th chapter, the Bible talks about Daniel and how Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, and nobody could interpret this dream. So Nebuchadnezzar called for Daniel, and the Bible says in the 19th verse that his thoughts troubled him. Anybody ever been in trouble to where your thoughts begin to trouble you? Trouble will cause you to relocate and run away from your friends and your family. Do you remember the story in 1 Samuel chapter 19, around the 8th verse, when David was at war again, and the Bible says that an evil spirit fell upon Saul, and while they were at Saul's house, the Bible says that Saul began to play with the javelin, and he sought to kill David, but then the Bible says that Saul slipped up, and when he threw the javelin, it hit the wall, and David went home, but his wife told him that if you stay here in the morning, you are going to be slain. So trouble caused David to flee from his family. Trouble will also cause you to lose your focus on God. Do you remember in the Bible, in the 14th chapter of Matthew, the Bible talks about how Jesus gathered up his disciples, and he told the disciples, come on now, let's get in the ship. And when they got in the ship, the Bible says they began to sail across the river. But while they were asleep, the Bible says that Jesus started walking on the water, and they got up and they became afraid because they thought it was a spirit.